It was another sweltering night at the last stop oasis, a remote truck stop clinging to the edge of the Sonoran Desert, somewhere off Route 66. The kind of place where the silence is so profound you can hear the stars hum. I've been working the night shift here for 3 years now. The pay is barely enough to keep my ancient pickup running, and the isolation, well, it used to suit me. Now, it just feels heavy. There's a reason this place has a high turnover. When I first started, the owner, an ancient woman named Elara Vance with eyes like polished turquoise, handed me a tattered coffee-stained ledger. "These rules," she rasped, her voice like dry leaves skittering across asphalt, "are for your survival. Disobey, and the desert will claim you, piece by agonizing piece." I thought she was just an eccentric old-timer, but the desert has a way of showing you how wrong you can be. The rules of the oasis. Rule 1. If a vehicle with no license plates, regardless of make or model, pulls in between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., kill all the exterior lights. Lock the doors. Do not look out the windows. Do not acknowledge their presence. Rule 2. If a customer pays entirely in pre-1933 gold coins, direct them to pump 7 and immediately activate the silent alarm button under the register once. Do not make eye contact. Do not touch the coins. Rule 3. Should a customer ask for the usual, but specify it with a phrase like, "the one that sees through the veil," or "the one that hums in the dark," call this number 928-555-9876. Say nothing else. Rule 4. If the faint smell of ozone and sulfur permeates the air, accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, go directly to the walk-in freezer. Lock yourself inside until precisely 4:32 a.m. Do not respond to any sounds or voices, no matter how familiar. Rule 5. Never, under any circumstances, allow anyone to use the storage room in the back, especially if they claim it's for lost souls or ancient pacts. If pressed, state it's undergoing structural repairs. Rule 6. If any animal enters the store between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. and appears to be speaking or reacting like a human, do not engage. Press the green button beneath the candy rack and wait for Elara even if she is not scheduled. Rule 7. Should a woman with unnaturally long dark hair and eyes that glow faintly ask for directions to the crossing point, direct her to the old abandoned gas station across the highway, then leave the building immediately, drive away, and do not return until sunrise. I dismissed them as the ramblings of a desert-addled mind. Until my second week. It was a still night, the air thick with the scent of creosote. Just a few truckers and a family heading to Vegas. By 1:30 a.m., the place was empty. I was wiping down the counter when a pair of headlights, oddly dim, swept across the lot. An old beat-up sedan, faded to an unidentifiable color, drifted in. No license plates. Rule 1. My blood ran cold. I fumbled for the exterior light switch, plunging the lot into darkness. The master lock engaged with a sickening clunk. The sedan glided to a stop directly in front of the entrance. The windows were so grimy I couldn't see inside. A shadow moved within, and a muffled thumping started, rhythmic and unsettling. Thump, thump, thump. It was too slow, too deliberate to be a knock. It sounded like something heavy and soft hitting the glass. I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs. A moment later, a voice, raspy and dry like sandpaper, came through the ancient intercom. Fuel and passage. I stayed silent, frozen in place. "We know you're there." The thumping intensified, shaking the glass. "Open the way." I kept my eyes fixed on the security monitor, watching the shadowy form. After an eternity, the thumping stopped. The sedan remained for exactly 23 minutes before silently drifting away, disappearing into the vast inky blackness. When Elara arrived for her morning shift, I stammered out what had happened. "Did you see inside?" she asked, her voice sharp. "No," I whispered. I followed the rule. She exhaled slowly, a sound like deflating tires. Good. They've been testing the boundaries more often. Who are they? I asked. Elara's gaze drifted to the distant horizon, where the sun was just beginning to paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. Those who seek what is hidden. That's all you need to know. A few days later, a news report spoke of a remote ranch house 50 miles west, found completely stripped of all metal. Witnesses reported a faded sedan, no plates, leaving the scene. It was a busy Saturday during the summer tourist season. The station was buzzing with families, bikers, and RVs. I was ringing up a couple, buying a dozen bags of jerky when I saw her. She was elegant, perhaps in her late 40s, with striking auburn hair pulled back in a severe bun. She wore an antique lace dress, oddly formal for the desert. She moved with an almost ethereal grace. She picked up a vintage bottle of soda and a bag of licorice, then approached the counter, a faint knowing smile playing on her lips. Just these, dear. Her voice was like wind chimes. And I need to fill up pump 7. As I scanned her items, Rule 2 screamed in my head. I looked at her red hair. I'm sorry, I said, trying to sound normal, but pump 7 is out of order. Perhaps pump 2? Her smile widened, showing teeth that seemed a shade too long. But I prefer pump 7. Are you certain? Positive, I lied. Maintenance just shut it down. She studied me, her eyes, the color of jade, unnervingly bright. Very well, pump 2 it is. As she gathered her items, I discreetly pressed the silent alarm button once. That'll be $8.75. She reached into a small velvet purse and pulled out a stack of gleaming gold coins, placing them on the counter. The light seemed to dim around them. Keep the change. I hesitated. We don't accept unusual currency after dark. I improvised. Company policy. Her smile vanished. I have nothing else. I can void the transaction, I offered, my voice barely a whisper. Before she could respond, the back office door creaked open, and Elara emerged. Serafina, Elara said, her voice flat. We've discussed this. The woman, Serafina, turned, her posture shifting subtly, becoming almost predatory. Elara, still guarding the gates, I see. You know the terms, Elara replied calmly. Standard currency, no unusual transactions. Serafina's elegant demeanor evaporated. These terms are becoming restrictive. There will be adjustments. Not while I breathe, Elara stated. Serafina laughed, a sound like crumbling stone. That can be remedied. She turned back to me, and for a split second, her face seemed to ripple, the skin beneath the surface shifting as if alive. Then she collected her items, leaving the gold coins untouched. Consider it a deposit, she said. Her voice distorted, layered with a chorus of ancient whispers, for what's coming. She glided out, towards pump 2, where a sleek obsidian black hearse I hadn't noticed before was waiting. Don't touch the coins, Elara warned when I reached for them. She produced a pair of worn leather gloves and carefully scooped them into a lead-lined pouch. What was that about? Who is she? One who tests limits, Elara replied cryptically. We have an understanding, but she seeks weakness. What would have happened if I'd taken the coins? Elara sealed the pouch. The last one who did, his skin turned to scales, and he still screams under the new moon. He was lucky. The one before him didn't last the night. She never elaborated, and I never asked. Later I reviewed the security footage. Every frame where Serafina should have appeared was a blurred distortion, a phantom ripple. It was a quiet Wednesday in April. A sandstorm had raged earlier, coating everything in fine red dust. I was grateful for the stillness. Around 2 a.m., the bell above the door chimed. The man who entered was utterly unremarkable. Average height, medium build, sandy brown hair, jeans, and a faded t-shirt. He nodded politely and headed straight for the hot dog roller. After selecting a hot dog and a bag of chips, he approached the register. There was nothing suspicious. He looked like any other tired traveler. "Just these," he said, placing his items on the counter. "Oh, and a full tank. I'm just passing through from Sedona." The words sent a jolt through me. "Rule 3. Let me just check something," I said, reaching for the phone. I dialed the number, my fingers trembling slightly. The line connected immediately. No one spoke, but I could hear a faint, hollow hum. "I have a customer here who says he's passing through from Sedona," I said, keeping my voice level. The line went dead. I hung up, forcing a smile. "Sorry about that." "Which pump are you on?" The man's demeanor had subtly changed. His relaxed posture tightened. His eyes, previously tired, were now sharply focused, constantly scanning the store. "Pump 4, he said cautiously. "Is everything all right?" "Fine," I assured him. "That'll be $11.50 for the hot dog and chips." He paid with exact change, his movements precise. As he turned to leave, he paused. "You should consider finding another job. Places like this, they attract attention. The wrong kind." Before I could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles made us both turn towards the windows. 3 unmarked, dark SUVs had pulled into the lot, surrounding the man's beat-up minivan. "Damn," he muttered. "Too slow." He glanced at me. "You might want to step into the back room." I remained frozen behind the counter as 6 individuals in unmarked tactical gear emerged from the SUVs. They didn't rush or draw weapons, just formed a loose perimeter. The man set down his hot dog with a resigned sigh. "Tell Elara that the Sedona Accord sends its regards. The balance is shifting." A woman entered the store, tall with close-cropped white hair and an air of undeniable authority. She wore a dark suit, no insignia, but the others clearly deferred to her. "Agent Vance," she addressed the man. "You're becoming reckless." "Director Thorne," he replied with a thin smile. "Still doing the council's bidding, I see." She ignored the jab, turning to me. "You followed protocol." "Thank you." The man, Agent Vance, was escorted out without resistance. As Director Thorne turned to leave, I found my voice. "What is Sedona? Who are these people?" She studied me for a moment. "How long have you worked here?" "Almost a year," I replied. "Ask Elara about the history of this place, about what lies beneath. If she trusts you enough to tell you, then perhaps you deserve to know." Within 15 minutes, they had all departed, Agent Vance in one of the SUVs, his minivan left behind. By morning, the minivan was gone without a trace. When I asked Elara about what lay beneath the truck stop, her expression darkened. "Some questions are better left unasked. The rules will keep you safe. That's all you need to concern yourself with." But that night, sweeping near the back storage room, I noticed something odd about the old concrete floor. In certain light, what appeared to be ordinary cracks revealed the faint outline of a massive circular trapdoor. A severe dust storm rolled in from the west, bringing with it howling winds and a rare, violent downpour that pounded against the corrugated iron roof like 1,000 drums. Few travelers braved the weather. The store had been empty for hours. I was restocking the soda fridge when the lights flickered once, twice, and then a third time in rapid succession. Rule 4 instantly flashed in my mind. Moving quickly, I locked the front doors, powered down the registers, and made my way to the walk-in freezer at the back. It was a small space, crowded with crates of frozen food and boxes of ice. I closed the heavy, insulated door behind me and engaged the reinforced latch. Checking my watch, I saw it was 1:53 a.m., nearly 3 hours to wait. The first hour passed uneventfully. Rain continued to lash against the building, and occasional thunder rattled the structure. I watched the empty store on the small security monitor inside, wondering if the rule was merely a precaution against power outages. But then, at precisely 2:47 a.m., the cameras went dead. One moment they displayed the empty aisles, the next, nothing but static. A minute later, I heard the front doors creak open, despite having locked them myself. Heavy, squelching footsteps moved slowly across the sales floor, accompanied by what sounded like guttural wheezing, wet, ragged inhalations that carried clearly over the storm. "Hello?" a man's voice called out. "Anyone here? I need assistance." His voice sounded strained, gurgling with what might have been fluid. The footsteps continued, moving methodically up and down each aisle. "Please, I'm hurt badly. Just need a moment." A wet thud against the freezer door made me jump. "I know you're in there. I can smell the warmth." Like a television with poor reception. For a split second, I glimpsed something else beneath the animal's disguise. Something twisted and ancient, with too many eyes and a gaping maw filled with countless teeth. And then it turned and loped stiffly towards the exit. At the threshold, it paused and looked back at me. "See you soon, successor," it said in that horrible multi-toned voice. "Perhaps I'll wear a different face next time. One you can't resist helping." After it left, I leaned heavily against the counter, my legs weak with delayed terror. "Who was that?" I gasped. "One of the older ones," Elara replied grimly. "They're getting bolder, testing how far they can push." "It called me successor." Elara sighed heavily. "I'm sick," she said bluntly. "It's terminal. 6 months. Maybe less." The news hit me hard. Despite how strange she was, I had grown to respect this woman. Somebody needs to be around to keep things in order. Somebody there to enforce the rules. "I've been watching you for 3 years now. You follow instructions. You don't panic under pressure. And you pay attention. So you want me to take over?" "I don't have much family left. My daughter wants nothing to do with this place. Says it's a curse, not a responsibility." Perhaps she is right, but somebody must do it. But why me? Why not Jenkins or one of the other long-time employees? Because they haven't encountered all 7 rules and survived. You have, and that makes you qualified. And what if I say no? Then the rules will fail, the seals will break, and what's beneath will devour everything for 100 miles in every direction. And that's just for starters. She let that sink in before adding, "Just think about it. You have time to decide, but not that much time." The final rule, about the woman with unnaturally long dark hair and glowing eyes asking for the crossing point, was triggered just 2 weeks ago. It was early evening, and the store was filled with the usual mix of truckers, tourists, and locals. I was handling the rush pretty well, considering how distracted I had been since Elara's revelation about her illness and her plans for me to take over. Around 8 p.m., as the crowd was thinning out, the door chimed and a woman entered. She had unnaturally long dark hair that seemed to absorb the light and eyes that glowed faintly, like embers. Despite the warm spring weather, she wore a heavy dark cloak that seemed to shimmer at the edges. She was beautiful in an unsettling otherworldly way. She browsed casually for a few minutes before approaching the counter. Something about her made the other customers unconsciously move away, leaving a bubble of empty space around her. "Excuse me," she said, her voice oddly resonant, like multiple voices speaking in unison. "I'm looking for directions to the crossing point." My mouth went dry. Rule 7. "The old abandoned gas station across the highway," I said, pointing vaguely towards the distant, crumbling structure. "Just past the water tower." She smiled, a movement of lips that didn't quite reach her glowing eyes. "Thank you. They're waiting for me." As she walked towards the exit, I noticed something disturbing. Her feet made no sound on the linoleum floor, and from certain angles, she appeared slightly translucent, the shelving units visible through her form. Following the rule, I quickly locked the register, grabbed my keys, and headed for the exit. As I reached the door, I heard a commotion from the back. Raised voices, something heavy falling. Every instinct told me to leave as instructed, but concern for the remaining customers made me hesitate. There were still 3 people in the store, a young couple selecting snacks and a truck driver filling up a thermos of coffee. "Everyone needs to leave," I announced, trying to keep my voice steady. "Store emergency. Please exit immediately." The customers looked confused, but responded to the urgency in my voice. As they filed out, I held the door open, watching anxiously as they made their way to their vehicles. "What's happening?" the truck driver asked, hesitating at the threshold. "Gas leak. Please, just go." Once everyone was outside, I locked the door behind me and hurried to my car. As I fumbled with my keys, I glanced back at the store. Through the windows, I could see the lights flickering violently. Shadows moved across the glass, elongated, inhuman shapes that twisted and writhed. I drove away as instructed, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. About half a mile down the road, I pulled over at a safe distance and called Elara. "She's here," I said when she answered. "The woman with the long hair." I directed her to the old gas station and evacuated the building. "Good," she replied, her voice tight with tension. "Stay away until morning. I'll handle this." "Handle it how? Should I call the police?" "No police. They can't help with this. Just stay away until sunrise. Promise me." I promised and ended the call, but I couldn't bring myself to leave entirely. Instead, I parked on a hill overlooking the truck stop, watching from a distance. For nearly an hour, nothing visible happened. The building stood silent and still under the desert moon. And then, at exactly midnight, all the lights went out. In the darkness, the building seemed to shift. It's hard to describe exactly what I saw. The structure appeared to distort, the walls bulging and contracting like it was breathing. A column of pure darkness rose from the center of the roof. Not smoke, but an absence of light, a vertical tearing in reality that stretched up towards the stars. It pulsed with negative energy, drawing light inward rather than emitting it. The air around it seemed to vibrate, which I felt in my bones rather than heard. This continued for exactly 17 minutes before a flash of brilliant white light erupted from the building. It was so intense that I had to cover my eyes. When I looked back, everything seemed to be normal again. The lights were back on. The building stood solid and unchanged. No sign of what had occurred. Unable to resist, I drove back to the station, arriving just as dawn broke over the horizon. Elara's car was parked outside, along with a vehicle I didn't recognize, an unmarked black SUV with government plates. Inside, I found Elara sitting at one of the customer tables with 3 individuals in formal attire, 2 men and a woman, all with the same clinical, detached demeanor I had observed in Director Thorne months prior. The store itself was immaculate. No evidence of what had occurred. Nothing unusual at all. Even the coffee machine was brewing fresh, its aroma filling the air with deceptive normalcy. Elara looked exhausted but unharmed. She nodded when she saw me. "Ah, perfect timing. We were just discussing your future role." The woman, rather stern-looking, studied me. "This is your successor? Are you certain they're up for the job?" "They've survived all 7 rules," Elara replied. "I think they're more than qualified." "Surviving isn't the same as understanding," one of the men commented. "Or accepting." Elara turned to me. "Well, that's the question, isn't it? Do you accept?" I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. "You really think I'm up for this? I mean, what even happened last night? Who was that woman? What really lurks below? You'll know everything in time. Don't you worry." Elara's eyes held a strange glint. "So what do you say?" Honestly, I don't know. It all sounds great and heroic and like the right thing to do. But I just don't feel up to it. I kind of just want to call it a day and go home and chill out. Sorry, but I think that's a no for me. I'll probably just go find a different job. Yeah. Sorry. See you.